Rainworld is a game with a variety of, let's call them frustrating mechanics. But the only one that feels truly unfair, the only one that makes me feel hopeless, is the reindeer, the rabbit walkers. These black, fat balls are the only thing in Rainworld you need to ride to get through the game. They are not very cooperative most of the time. In a game with a time limit, I don't want to sit around hoping that this does what I tell it to. I don't have time for that. Fortunately, though, there are some other options. Rainworld has a variety of interesting mechanics, and surely at least a few of those can allow us to avoid doing things the way they're intended. Whether you're playing with or without the DLC, you have at least one way to avoid the deer. I'm gonna try to show them off. From the easiest methods to the hardest methods. There are ways to get past this grass without a deer. Although this may not be one of them. Alright, let's see how we can do better than that. If you're going through farm arrays, it's because you want to get to this end right over here. This is the only way to get to this area normally. You can't even backtrack to here, at least not without some crazy strategies. So the only way to get there is by going through this deer pit over here, which requires you to get to this little alcove here. And in order to get there, you need to either cross this pile of deer, or this pile of deer, with optional piles of deer here, and here. That's a lot of deer. So, there is one way for you to avoid using deer in the base game, and that is by flying over the deer, using a Squidcada. Squidcadas are located here, and here, along with little bits of Squidcadas in other areas like that. You also need to be starving. It has to be a white Squidcada, because they are larger and can carry you farther, and you have to be starving after having gone a cycle without insufficient food. So that's a bit of a pain, but we can work with it. When we grab a Squidcada from those areas, we can fly it all the way up here, over the lower pass, through all these tubes, and then we can fly over the final bit of deer. However, there is also Squidcada up here in the top right. We'll look at this later, but you cannot use Squidcada to cover this top pass. You have to use the bottom pass. Unless you're a god. Let's try the bottom pass first, then. So you're clear of the beehive things, or pain cones, while you're in this area. They'll really screw you up, especially because you're starving. The Squidcada can get hurt too. So just stay as far away from the red deaths as you can. Here's where we take off. In order to fly with the Squidcada, you have to do a backflip. I'm not sure why it works that way, but from that point onwards, you can hold the jump button to ascend, and it'll descend whenever you're not holding it. This next part is going to be your best chance to rest, and you really want to take it. The next part is harder than you'll think it is, going through all those pipes. So sleep all you can. You'll just have to starve a second time. Squidcada can be a real pain in small pipes. A few strategies are to throw rocks at them, or mostly you just throw them. Picking up and throwing a Squidcada can sometimes throw them in front of you, sometimes you can push or pull them afterwards. Just keep throwing until you get them at a good angle and you can get them through the pipe. And that is the Squidcada Method. There's a few more tricks to it if you have Downpour enabled, and a lot more tricks in Downpour. But if you're on your own, and you don't have the DLC, this is probably the best way to avoid using deer. Might even be faster too. You can skip the Squidcada on the second part if you have most of the DLC enabled, including throwing spears upwards. If you throw a spear into the pipe up here, then throw a second spear into the... Dang it. Then you throw a second spear, and you don't miss. Then you climb on both spears, and you can get up to this shortcut. And there you have it. There's not much good reason to do it besides showing off, but you might find use for it later. Here's the problem with trying to use a Squidcada strat on the upper side. Try as you might, you're not going to be able to get the Squidcada through the pipes. It does not like going down very much. If you can pull it off, it's probably by throwing rocks at the Squidcada repeatedly to stun it, and it'll fall like a rock, but it would be pretty hard to pull off for the entire direction of the pipes. If you did though, nothing should stop you. The DLC did add another way to get through the upper part, even if it's not using a Squidcada. What the DLC added was a Gourmand. It's a light blue food item that you can usually only find in areas past farmeries, but occasionally a scavenger has one in this area as well, and if they do, you can use it to sneak past wormgrass. All you have to do is hold it in your hand, and crouch and move slowly. If you move too fast while you crawl, then it's going to grab you, but if you move too slow, then beasts will slowly grab you. Look at my inputs here. What you have to do is basically just crouch and then tap repeatedly your forward button, assuming you're using a keyboard. So you're slower than regular crawl, but faster than doing nothing. Do it right, and you'll get there before no time. Try to bring 1 or 2 spears across this hump. You only need 1, but a second spear can help if you don't throw the first one well enough. If you don't throw it well enough otherwise, you're just screwed. Didn't throw this one well enough. Good enough had a spare spear on the other side. So I have to go back and get it. Just make sure to stay crouched as much as possible. You can still do small jumps while you're crouching. Let's do keep one hand free, which you couldn't do with the Squidcada. But you'll have to find a Gourmand from scavengers, generally. And make sure not to eat it. And there we are. Who needs deer? If you jump in from above, you can do the Gourmand strat on the bottom part of farm raise as well. Same as before, you can optionally climb up the shortcut hole with the spear, or you can go the long way and use the Gourmand to crawl for longer. Either way works. Downpour adds a few character-specific shortcuts for farm arrays. When you're starting as Hunter, you probably notice this odd alcove on the side. You can only use it as Rivulet, at least they're intended to be used for Rivulet, but you can also use it as Gourmand, or any character who has several pieces of bubbleweed. Gourmand is just the only one who can get bubbleweed in farm arrays. If you keep on coughing stuff up, you'll either get enough stuff to get bubbleweed, or you'll get stuff you can use to craft bubbleweed. It takes a bit of luck. But you can also get the bubbleweed in advance and store it in your stomach for this part. If you don't have it stored though, you just gotta keep crafting until you get what you need. Once you do get it, you can just dive right in. Goes a long way down over here so you don't get stuck on the top over there. And you'll end up somewhere else. This middle cave doesn't have much food except for bubble fruit. And that's what you want. You can eat some of it, but the rest of it can be used to craft. Bubble fruit is aquatic, so pop bubble fruit can be used to craft bubbleweed more easily. Just feel around until you get it if you didn't store anything in your stomach beforehand. There's a lot of luck involved in this, sure. But there's a lot of luck involved in deer, too. Cross that small bit of pipe, and you'll find yourself on the middle island, between two spots that both need deer to get through. Don't panic though. There's a shelter here if you go in the other pipe. And if you don't, there's a lot of popcorn here. Popcorn is enough to get infinite items, so you can get the next piece of bubble fruit you need. Once you have what you need, you can head right back down into the water. It's going to be hard to see, but if you go straight down, then on the top left, there will be a small arrow pipe that'll lead you to where you need to go. This is connected to the same area you'll get to with the spear strats. If you just keep going left here, eventually, you'll reach the same area, which is to say, you're in the shortcut that leads straight to the end. Alternatively, if you don't want an extremely risky strategy where you might get eaten by wormgrass or drowned, well, you can't get rid of the wormgrass part, but if you just get one of the mushrooms and one of the spore puffs, you can just craft a Goieduck. It's probably way easier, and it'll save you a lot of time. Artificer is unique because they can take the lower paths without needing anything special. They don't need a Goieduck, they don't need a Squidcada. All they need is to be really, really good at jumping over wormgrass. For the start, you'll have to use a spear to get up here. Not because you can't jump it, but because you want to save your jumps for this part. Screwing up your jumps here is probably going to kill you, so you want to save as many as you can for this part. And you can just climb up the rest with a spear. You can take the pipe on the bottom there if you want to climb up an alcove and get to a pearl, as well as the shelter. But assume you don't want to do that. You just have to jump up here. It's just regular wormgrass, so there isn't any trouble. You could probably even jump onto that deer, but screw deer. This is the really, really hard part. This jump isn't so bad. This jump is a lot harder. This is the worst jump. I always throw things for this final jump here, because you're going to need it. You can shelter here if you like. But Ari doesn't even need that. Artie is so mobile that they can really take the super hard spear strat up ahead without needing a spear. Or needing any skill. Just deal with all the horrible spiders. Frankly, for Artificer, the best part is probably lets you skip a scab toll. Scavenger toll in this region is mean, but especially for Artificer. Yeah, this here can be tricky, so it might be the good reason to save. on the bottom there. That bright blue ball. That's a Gourmand one of the scabs had. Well, that about does it for all the ways you can replace those horrible deer and show them how pathetic and useless they are. But there's one last thing. It's possible to climb up to that part of Farmeries from outside of the area. Very hard, so I basically didn't even treat it as an option. But if you're playing a Spearmaster, or you're just completely insane and have a million spears, or if you're Artificer with a few spears, or if you're Saint, then you can climb up this tunnel. It's only really possible for 3 slug cats, but if you want to get up there, this is one of the most interesting ways to do it. But yeah, hope this helps.